Welcome back to the Sharp from the Iron Edge. I'm Ken Nowitzki. I want to take the topic this week and continue from where we've been talking recently. We were talking about the comparisons of Thief of Joy, talking about following through, and the big one I wanted to discuss this week, and the topic of this week's episode is betting on yourself. I've been having some conversations with friends recently where they've got a business idea and they like the idea, they really like the idea, but they're worried that it's not going to take off and that they're going to, risk everything to take this chance and walk away from a full-time job to then follow this dream, so to speak. And they're worried that it's not going to play out in their favor. And we've been talking a lot, and then, for me, betting on myself is something that's been very big in my life. From a sport aspect, like in strongman, like you have to bet on yourself. No one's gonna fucking do anything for you. You gotta reach your goal and you gotta chase your goals and all that sort of stuff by yourself. And then when it came to business, it's a case of, okay, am I going all in or am I just gonna sit here and sort of try to make it work? And for me, there's always been that aspect of going all in and trying to just figure it out, make it click, and all that sort of stuff. The betting on yourself side of it, though, is it's an interesting one to me because I feel that there's a lot of people in the world who have fantastic ideas, like really, really, really good ideas, but they're not willing to take the risk on themselves. And I don't fully understand that. I feel like society, maybe not this generation of society, but I feel like my generation, generations before me, it was sort of drummed into us that we had to have this, or life was supposed to be this thing of, well, you go to university or college, you get a good job, you chase the title, you climb the corporate ladder, you work for 40 years, and then you retire, and then you have fun at that point. And I don't think it's the way of life. For me, from my personal experience, my father passed away at 53 and he never got to experience retirement side of life. Like, yeah, we did fun things during life and during summer vacation, winter and all sorts of stuff. But, there was things still left on the table. For me personally, I've tried to bet on myself in whatever I do because I've sort of reached this point in my life where I realize that the important things aren't the title at work and it's not the whatever, it's not the big house or the fucking car or whatever like that. Being able to have a life and an income that supports what you want to do in life. Now, I'm not saying like you need to make $1 million. Maybe what supports your life is 50 grand. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. But for me, I've reached this point in my life where I understand that for me, the more important thing is to be able to go for a walk with my kid at 1 p.m. on a Monday just because we want to, because it's a nice day. So getting back to the betting on yourself thing, I don't think you can do that without taking the fucking chance. Now, obviously, this is a very business-related podcast, a very business-related episode. But if you have an idea, and honestly, it relates to sport as well, if you have a dream or a goal, at what point in time do you say, fuck it, I'm betting on myself and I'm going to chase it? Because to me, maybe if you wait, it ain't going to be there. You might not get the chance. And that's how I've sort of tried to live my life, is that if I have an idea, if I have something I'm trying to achieve, then I'm chasing it. Don't get me wrong, it's hard to chase at times. It's really hard to chase. It's really hard to bet on yourself. There's massive doubt, especially when it's something that when you're walking away from security or perceived security, I should say, because realistically, yeah, okay, you're if you're working for a company, then you're trading time for security. And in my opinion, why trade the time when you can make your own security and then still have the time? So the betting on yourself thing is very interesting to me because I feel like it's almost like an epidemic that people don't have this confidence in their own ability. They can have these dreams and desires and ideas, and they can be fired up to fuck about it all. And they're like, yep, tomorrow morning I'm going to start this. It's going to be fucking awesome. I'm going to kill it. We're going to achieve this goal. And I'm guilty of this too. And you go to bed and you wake up and you're back to the same old shit. And it's gone away. And I don't know where that comes from. So for me, and again, this is something I'm preaching, but I'm preaching to the choir a little bit because I'm trying to do this myself as well, is I'm trying to look at myself and decide what I want in life and figure out how to bet on myself again. I think if when in life we reach a bit of a point in a status quo point from perspective of, well, life's okay. I'm doing okay. I'm happy enough. And you stop sort of reaching. Where do you bet on yourself? I've sat here and I've said about the comparisons of Thief of Joy and looking at all social media and all that sort of shit. And it's just a highlight reel, and nothing's real in it. I've said about how, following through and having this idea, and I'm guilty of not following through with a lot of stuff at times. And it's the same thing with this betting on yourself deal. At what point in time or what stage of life do you say, you know what? It's time to reinvent myself. It's time to sit down, reevaluate what is truly important to me, bet on myself, chase those dreams, and make the life that I want versus living a life that gives somebody else what they want. So that's the question of the day. What stops you from betting on yourself? What stops me from betting on myself? And what are we going to do about it? What are we going to fucking do about it? That's the question, people. If you're not happy with your life, what are you going to do about it? You're going to let someone else come and save you? Or you're going to bet on yourself? I sure should know what I'm going to try and do at least. And hey, there is no try. There it is. Either do or cannot do. So here we go, people. Till the next time.